Roughly every month or so, a couple of writer friends and I head to a lovely local pub and we settle down for a cosy evening of puddings and chat. We generally natter away about whatever books we're reading, whatever we're writing at the time, and just have a really chilled time together. I sometimes manage to arrive a little bit early, so I always have my laptop and some books with me, just in case I can squeeze in some extra writing or reading time. On this occasion, one of my friends was away and the other friend had to hasten away much earlier than usual. So I took that time to myself to write. I wrote a poem, I worked on one of my chapters for my novel, and it was just a really lovely, kind of indulgent time to myself to be creative. The following whole day was spent cleaning a beautiful, large holiday home in the countryside, which I do as a part-time job. And it was a really hot day, but the house had been pretty cool. And then on the way home, I was just really tired from all the physical exertion, and I pulled up in this lay-by to admire these horses. Just took some time. I was really tired and was kind of looking forward to just getting home and flopping and just having a rest to recharge. But actually, this was a really great rest. I felt so perked up by just being still and watching, listening to the sounds of the birds and the insects buzzing around and the kind of intermittent whinnies of the horses, and just watching them make their way across the field, watching the leaves moving in the breeze and feeling the breeze on myself. It was just a really, really precious time. Hey, I thought I would take a minute to talk you through the books I'm currently enjoying reading, as well as a couple of books I've just finished, and show you my lovely reading pouch, my book pouch. This is just a makeup bag that I bought recently for the purpose, in a lovely local little department store where they always sell a lovely array of makeup bags, or wash bags, I guess you might call it. And they're often heftily reduced from time to time. So this one was not a lot of money. It feels lovely. I know you can't feel it, but maybe you can see it's like a velvety and embroidered texture. It's very soft, very tactile. Um, so I take this with me kind of wherever I go. It's always with me in the car on the school run every day. I take it with me to any cafe. It can fit two average kind of size novels in, sometimes more, sometimes an extra slim volume. Or if I'm reading a much thicker book, then it might only fit, yeah, one and a slimmer novel. It kind of depends, but I also try to leave room for a little notebook in case I get some ideas, or I want to check something later. Often I will stop and note down a word that is unfamiliar or where I just want to double check that I really do understand the meaning of it. And then later on, I can look that up and write it down in my personal little dictionary notebook. And the act of writing it down helps to cement it in my brain so that I can actually use it in context and not just forget it. Otherwise, it's just in and out. Anyway, on to books. I'm currently in the middle of two excellent books. The first, which I started first, is A Marvellous Light by Freya Marske. if that's how you say her name. I discovered this in my local bookshop, Lisnojan, in a browsing session one day, and it's been sitting on my to be read shelf. This is where I keep books that I haven't yet read, and then it's like going to a little bookshop and browsing for what I feel in the mood for next. I never quite can tell when I'm going to read a certain book, but when I finish a book, come here and see what I'm in the mood for. Anyway, so this has been sitting waiting for me, and I kind of felt fairly confident that I would really enjoy this, and when I got stuck into it, it was just an immediate deep head over heels falling in love with it. I'm not gonna really say anything very specific because I do not want to spoil anything about this for anyone who wants to discover it for themselves. I will just say it is an absolute fabulous story. The characters are wonderful and the writing is delectable. I think that's enough really to say, because you can look it up, you can read the blurb, and you can see if it's your cup of tea. But yeah, I don't want to say anything specific because I have loved discovering this completely for myself. I haven't heard anyone's opinion about it. I didn't really know what it contained or what the writing style would be like, but it's a joy. I'm completely devouring it. I'm a slow reader, but this one is making me read much more. Every time that I do read, I'm finding I've got more stamina, more concentration for reading because it's so good. So there's that. A kind of average-ish length of book. I'm loving it. So fantasy, obviously. Well, maybe not obviously, because I haven't really told you anything about it. It is a fantasy novel. So that takes me on to telling you about the fact that I tend to read a fantasy novel and a non-fantasy novel at the same time these days. It helps me to concentrate and flip between two books whilst keeping progress going on both of them. I was finding that sometimes when I've read a fantasy novel, I then crave something set in the real world, and that actually, if I'm reading two books concurrently, I can flip between the two. So when I have a reading session, I could read a chapter of one and then a chapter of another, or I could alternate so that one reading session I read a chapter or more of one, and then the next time I'm reading, I'll pick up the other one. And it's kind of it's a way to trick myself into keeping on reading. I love to read, but sometimes I get busy, tired, I prioritize other things. And then I have the kind of frustration of the fact that I'm maybe forgetting some of the detail of what I've recently enjoyed in the book, and it's hard to then progress, and I procrastinate about picking it up again, and ultimately don't really finish a book in a kind of length of time that feels enjoyable. It just drags on because not because the book is dragging, but because I'm dragging. I struggle with concentration, I struggle with energy levels, so I have to find ways to make reading work for me so that I get the most out of the book and kind of get to just start more books more regularly because I have so many books I want to read. The other book I'm reading at the moment is the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, which is by no means unknown. It's a really famous book for good reason. I have unfortunately seen the film first, which was maybe a couple of years ago. I absolutely love it. I am looking forward to watching it again after reading the book. But yeah, it's been around a while. I think it was published in 2008. It was actually published in the same year that the author died, but she did get to know that her book was going to be released in many countries before she died, and it was her only book. She wrote it in later life, and she was encouraged by her own book group to write a novel, and she chose to write about Guernsey, where she had spent some time and fallen in love with the place and the history of it. So, yeah, I'm loving it. I think it's fabulous. It's a slim volume. I'm about a quarter of the way through, and it's in letter form. It's an epistolic book, which I love. I really love reading letters. I love writing letters. I love stories in letter form, and it's really cleverly done. It's flitting between many different writers of letters to get the story really rich from lots of people's point of view and lots of different experiences that really contribute to the story as a whole. The letters are very chatty and they feel very real. It's kind of how I would write a letter, in a very chatty conversational way, and it's the kind of letter that I just really enjoy reading because it gives so much insight to the character of the writer. So yeah, I know what happens in this book, assuming that the film pretty much stuck to the plot of the novel. I don't actually know. I haven't checked. I don't really want to know. I'll just let it unfold as I read, and yeah, see see what this is like, what the actual essence of the original story is like. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So those are the two books I'm reading at the moment. Prior to that, I had absolutely raced through Maurice and Marilyn by Sophie Elmhurst. I discovered this in a bookshop in Wellington in Somerset. It's called Bookshop by the Black Downs, I believe, and it's a really lovely little independent bookshop. This was published, I think, last year or this year. It's pretty new. And it is a novelisation of a real life story. The author has done an amazing job of researching the couple and their adventures, and has looked at a lot of resources, which is really lovely. I like research, and I like hearing about other people doing a really thorough job of finding out everything they need to write their book. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it. The writing style was really beautiful. It was quite pared back, but still very very emotional. I read this really fast. Like I said earlier, I'm a slow reader and I struggle with concentration, and I find that reading at bedtime makes me really sleepy. But this book, I stayed up really late. Very silly. I shouldn't do that, but it felt worth it because it was so gripping. It is a survival story. I'm not giving anything away by that. You will find that out if you read the blurb. But yes, from very early on in the book, it gripped me, and it's a really special book. The dialogue was quite minimal, and it was a very different flavour of writing to what I've read a lot of, but I really enjoyed it. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Check it out for yourselves if you think you might be interested. That's better. I was getting numb feet sitting on my feet. Before that, I had absolutely loved The Perfect Golden Circle by Benjamin Myers. I found this book in a bookshop in Shaftesbury in Dorset, which in itself, the town is an amazing discovery. I absolutely love it there, full of history. It's home to the Hovis Hill, for anyone who knows the old video from maybe the 90s that I enjoyed as a child for Hovis Bread. It was set on this amazing, very steep cobbled hill that overlooks the most beautiful, beautiful valley where swifts fly. Anyway, getting carried away. Go to Shaftesbury, it's amazing. And go to Fold Bookshop. It's a very, very special shop. It centres all around nature books. And I browsed the novel section and found this. It just appealed to me, and I asked the shop owner about it. She said that she hadn't read it, but that lots of her customers recommended it. I just really liked the sound of it. I bought this just before the school summer holidays. I struggle with heat and I'm not a fan of summer. And it says on here, like a glass of cool water on a parched summer day. It is incredibly refreshing, this book. It is set during an English summer in the 80s. So it's kind of a historical novel, but very recent history. I was born in the middle of the 80s, but a lot of what is going on here would have been over my head at the time because I was a child. So yeah, it's kind of like has a light political kind of flavour at times. This book is very special. I really adored it. I savoured it. It's not a very long book. It's about 100,000 words, and I did not want to hurry through this, even though it was pulling me on very effectively. I was kind of purposely reading a little bit slower than usual because I just wanted to savour the language. His writing is utterly gorgeous. I really, really enjoyed it. And yeah, just kind of soaked in it. I liked his style, I liked his turn of phrase, I liked his imagery. The characters were completely wonderful, very unique, a very special relationship. And yeah, the unfolding of the actual story is just really, it's just really gently done. There was one chapter in particular that just really made me titter. I was absolutely just beguiled by it. I'm not going to give any specifics because I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but I just heartily recommend this book in particular, and this author feels like a very special author to go and peruse his other titles, see what else he's written. So I'm going to do that, see what I might choose next. Last up for this video, I just want to let you know about The Players by Amy Sparks. This is her first adult novel, but she's a prolific and amazing, very gifted, highly imaginative and very fun children's book author. I've enjoyed lots of her books for my own self, but also our kids have a lot of her books. She's a dear friend. She's local in Devon in England. She has this role of the story godmother, where she absolutely nurtures emerging writers. So yeah, she runs courses. Check it all out on her website, which I will put on here because I can't remember what it is. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to reading this book. I have listened to a bit of the first chapter read by her husband Alan Sparks, who also helped to put this book together. And really enjoyed it. So I'm kind of like poised, ready to read this soon. It's do you know what? I'm just going to put the blurb facing you for a bit. So if you want to, you can pause and read it because I think it will explain the story far better than I can. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it and I'll make another one soon. Go forth and spread the bookish love. Bye.